everyone. It is another wonderful day of daily casts. We are on the first day, Wednesday the 9th, and I have two wonderful guests on to talk about the spoilers for today. I'll have them introduce themselves, talk about what their history with Netrunner, and today it's an all NSG cast, so I'll have them talk a little bit about what they do inside NSG. So, CobraBubbles, I'll have you introduce yourself first.
Hello, my name's CobraBubbles. I have been playing Netrunner since 2014. Sounds about right. It's definitely been more than 10 years. Yeah, I'm a UK player. Do some tournament organising. Play with the team EA Sports, and I'm also the lead editor at Null Signal Games. So a lot of the preview articles you'll be seeing over the next couple of weeks, I would have edited or otherwise been involved in, which has been really fun.
Yeah, and any article that's authored by me has been fixed into something that's readable by Cobra, so you have them to thank for that. Yeah, and Jamie, do you want to say hello, talk to people about your history with Netrunner and your current role?
Hello, I am Jamie, or Infinite Nutshell. I have been playing for so long, since about the Plugged In tour in like 2013, I think. And I am the rules manager for Null Signal Games.
Great.
And I'm in the Boston area, so I'm in the same local meta as Jeff.
Yeah. All right. So we have two cards to talk about today, and I think that they're the first ideas we get from Elevation. I think they're pretty exciting cards to talk about, and I think we will start with there we go. Ryu Phoenix Ono. Out of the Ashes is the tagline. It is there's a new pronoun box on the ID frames, and they list any all. Identity subtype Gmod 4517, not 15, so some interesting change in influence there. And then the first time,
I think it's the first Anarch we've seen with 17 influence.
Yeah, I think that's right. The only one I can think of with otherwise modified influence is Valencia, or not Valencia, Alice and Omar, right?
Does Alice and Valencia have a bigger deck size than typical? I don't think I don't think either of them has less influence.
Why did I think? I must be wrong here. I think you're right, and I'm just.
But Omar, you're right. Yeah, Alice is 50-15.
Okay, Okay, boy, my brain's apparently not working. But yeah, we saw also some narrative backsides to this card, which I meant to pull into this stream right beforehand, but don't actually have them on hand. But I think, yeah, so I'll grab them at some point. But yeah, I think co-rolls. I'm kind of curious to hear your thoughts on Phoenix.
Yeah, well, I'll start out with a shout out to my fellow any all pronouns havers. It's a good life. Yeah, exciting to see the pronouns and the IDs and the new ID frames. That's really fun. And the new back of the IDs as well. Yeah, that's just cool fun. I'm looking forward to having these cards in my hands and having the double-sided. Flip them over, read the lore. That's good fun. I think this card is like Anarch as all hell, right? This is like obviously the super future punk rocker thing is like, is a really Anarch space that we've sort of floated around over the history of Netrunner. But we've never had a character that's really embodied it quite as much as Phoenix does, I don't think. And also the play style is just like, you're going to be playing Bankar, you're going to be running through ice, you're going to be, smashing through it with your face, taking a bunch of damage or other effects, and meanwhile you're going to be hurting the corp while you do it. Just very like Anarch, right?
My internet decided to blip for just a second at exactly the time that makes me unsure if we actually read the card.
Oh, you know what? I'm not sure if I actually did read the card.
I might have interrupted you at the influence cost,
and we definitely did not. Okay, so at least I'm pretty sure I didn't. But yeah, it says the first time each turn a run becomes successful after a subroutine resolved during that run gain 1 credit, and the corp trashes 1 card from HQ. Yeah, I think, Cranked pointing out like, oh man, people are like, oh, this is only as strong as Banhart, but it's like, well, Banhart is a very strong card, so this does seem like a nice synergy piece potentially. I also kind of like, just like thematically, this feels a little bit like a noise callback, just not in like any mechanical sense. Well, I guess actually in some slight mechanical sense, but also kind of thematically, as like a kind of punk rocker kind of character archetype.
Yeah, you can kind of see how we get here on the long arc from Noise, right? The original idea is a similar kind of, it feels like a kind of similar character archetype of someone who's like creatively expressive but also kind of disconnected from or rejected from mainstream society, and their ability is about smashing stuff. But in the gameplay of Noise, what you sort of end up doing is just sitting around installing your viruses, noodling away. I mean, maybe it's a bit more like, someone fiddling on their decks at home rather than going out and playing some kind of wicked guitar thing that Phoenix seems to have. I don't think that's an intentional metaphorical connection, but I enjoy it. But yeah, you can sort of see how our understanding of what's interesting about Anarch gameplay has changed over the 13 years between these two cards' release.
Yeah.
And
jeez, that's a scary number to say.
Much more interesting. Lucky number 13.
Sorry. Jamie, did I cut you off there for a second?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I'm getting some. Apparently my internet has decided to be unreliable tonight, and I'm getting some of people talking dropping out slightly, but I am mostly here.
Yeah. What are your kind of initial takes on this ID? Maybe mechanically, thematically, artistically, but.
It was awkward to write the text.
Yeah, I definitely saw it's a weird text thread to have to make. For sure.
So we struggled with how exactly to word this. Like normally we would write the first time each turn you made a successful run, but then we need to say something about the run, and a successful run, the way that we sort of talk about the game these days is it's like a point, right? It doesn't really refer to the run as a whole. It's the point at which, it's shorthand for the point at which a run is declared successful. So we ended up going with a wording that is more talking about the run, like giving a thing to reference, and then we say it becomes successful, and then we can talk about a subroutine having resolved during it.
Yeah, that's it's an awkward thing to kind of figure out, but
yeah, I am confident FFG would have just said the first time each turn you made a successful run in which a subroutine resolved, and not even felt like there was a problem with that.
Yeah.
And I submit as evidence of that in Versificator.
Oh boy. Yeah, that is one of those cards that like I was like, oh, it's a pretty straightforward card, and then we had the first like Tatu Bola and Thimble Rig, and I'm like, oh no, this is really just complicated.
One of the sentences of all time.
Yeah.
Pass a piece of ice in which.
Yeah. Yeah, but I don't know. Are you two like? Are there any kind of? Is this? Do we think like the default Anarch going forward? Is this kind of a side Anarch where you have to build a deck around it? I'm kind of curious where you two stand on this.
Well, I think you have to build around it at least a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, you certainly want to have ways to ensure that you can get into servers and still have subroutine resolve. So, like, the obvious cards that you want, banner and banner, are certainly helpful. But like, yeah, like I guess you could just not worry about barriers and run a normal fractor and take advantage of having a lot of influence and getting to do some disruption against code gates and sentries that don't just have on their own subroutines. But it's certainly more effective if you're like can reliably get. I don't think you get this to fire every turn of a game, especially because it's like totally dependent on the corp to like res ice in the first place. They could just let you in if it's early centrals pressure and you're just getting a single, and this is the kind of ability that does discourage resing in a lot of those situations. But yeah, having some ability to control it is definitely helpful.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of like current standard Anarch IDs that this makes sense to compare to, right? The obvious ones I think being Alice and Essa. And Alice is like an instructive card, I think, because Alice was never really good enough for competitive standard play. But if you ever played against Alice, you know that like that ability is like impactful. That thing of, oh, I just have to trash a card from HQ most turns. That's like can really like do things to your game as the corp. Yeah, Alice suffered from opportunity cost and inconsistency and other things like that. I think Phoenix is just pretty much better than that ability. But then the comparison to Essa is interesting because Essa can do the thing without having to run, which is good and bad, right? It's like it's an advantage in some ways from a kind of competitive perspective, that you can just sit there and disrupt the core. But also knowing when and how to run his Essa is actually a really difficult skill. And the sort of best Essa players actually run quite a lot, even though they don't, strictly speaking, have to make many of their cards work. Because you need that running pressure in addition to the sabotage pressure to really leverage that into winning games. And I think Phoenix kind of strapping those two things together will make for a style of Anarch that is fun to play, and like really, but also similarly disruptive to the Essa style, and at kind of a lower cost, right? You're not reducing your own hand size over the course of the game in the same way. You get to kind of bring the same level of resources to bear across the whole game. So yeah, I'm kind of interested to see. This is a card that like, elephant in the room, right? Is it better than Ishiko? Is the obvious question for standard. I don't know that necessarily matters. Like I think Essa has positions itself quite well as a Anarch ID that doesn't have to be better than Ishiko to be good. Like it does a different thing, and I could see Phoenix being in a similar spot, I think.
Yeah, as long it's one of those things where it's like as long as you can find a niche, you don't necessarily like have to be the strongest possible thing. As long as that if that niche can become relevant through some deck building or just meta reads, that can be good. And like I think potentially this has the ability to be kind of making making their own niche and making I think that could be a very nice outcome here. But I'll be kind of curious to see. Do we want to move on to the next ID? Because I actually don't have. Actually, I wonder if I can just. I don't have the back cards on here. I think. Oh, maybe I can just. We'll just get some low res ones. Because we got for our Anarch ID here, we have. This is gonna look ugly for a second. These. So this is, the first of these, and I think we have one for the Wayland ID as well. I think this is like a really fun like change of like, oh yeah, the runner cards like don't need to have a card back. It's almost better that they don't, and so there's like, hey, let's use some space there to flesh out the characters, which I think is a fun thing.
I think you are giving away that this is the back. I don't think we've said that yet.
Oh, apologies.
Yeah, I think that's fairly transparent. Yeah, I mean, as people might have been able to guess from the allusion in the schedule article that was published today, there's going to be an article out with more details about these changes to the frames and these narrative extras. tomorrow. So yeah, people more qualified than us to talk about those things will talk about them tomorrow.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you, Jeff. I think they're really cool. It adds a lot to just what you can learn about the characters just by looking at the cards. I think that's nice. Also, just noticed there that like you get a different angle on the art as well, which is kind of fun. Like you see a bit more of Ryo's outfit
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
art,
Oh
which is
yeah.
just like fun to me as well. I enjoy that. So yeah, cool change.
Yeah, that's a good shout out. All right. Well, should we move on to the other card that was spoiled today?
Yeah,
Sure
let's.
thing.
All right. This is the Zwicky Group, subtitle Invisible Hands, 4515, identity subtype unsubstantiated. The first time each turn you gain credits through an ability on an agenda or operation, you may draw one card, and the flavor text is action at a distance. Um,
Is there a card? I don't see anything. What is this wiki group? That doesn't sound like a thing that exists.
uh, yeah, I'm kind of curious. This is a. I will say, like, this is, I think, a great example of like the story really elevating a pretty kind of straightforward text and making it, I think, quite interesting. So I want to give huge shout outs to the narrative team for the work they've done on the Zwicky Group. I think it's a very nice addition.
Yeah, I have to say, like, unsubstantiated is an all-time banger. That like is, in my opinion, maybe the most work a single word has ever done for the narrative of Netrunner on a Netrunner card. It's so good. It's like there's a moment in so this came with a piece of fiction that everybody should read. That's written by Patrick, who was narrative director for this set. And in that fiction, there's a moment where the character is kind of looking at a confusing phenomenon in cyberspace, and then just gets the right angle on it, and suddenly everything lines up. And unsubstantiated does that for me. It's like it just lines up. Everything about it lines up in such a beautiful way. It's like it's unexpected and weird. It's like it's grammatically different from most other subtype kind of words that we have. Even the way it just like stretches across the whole type line like that, it fills out that space in a way we don't often see. It just like does so many things that just delight me. It's wonderful. It's like art. It's gorgeous. I love it.
Well, thank you for that. I worked with Patrick on figuring out what to do for the subtypes here. I suggested a few ideas, and this is obvious. Corp ID subtypes are not functional in any sense. So, like in general, rules and narrative work together
we're
on
not
subtypes.
we're
This
not
is
going to get a
definitely narrative
mechanical
call,
hook
ultimately.
for an unsubstantiated identity. I feel like that's a missed opportunity, but apologies.
I got to learn about Fnord from conversations about this subtype.
People in the chat also shouting out the negative space W, which like I had seen this art early and I had never thought about that, but it's like I think it's a very fun little effect on the card. Yeah, so that's like a I think the like art we haven't seen. Well, actually, no, we've seen a good chunk of the art so far and the narrative so far in this set, and I think it's been really good so far. So I'm excited to see how the whole set comes out. But what do you two?
I think
Sorry.
I was just going to say I think, as you might expect from a core set product, right? This is a set with a lot of really like iconic kind of clean concepted cards in it that really like take a kind of simple idea and deliver it in a really fun kind of form. This is not one of those. This is a weird idea, but it's delightful. It's like once you see it, it's like, oh yeah, wicked. Of course, it's just like the corp that doesn't exist. It's brilliant.
Yeah, that's a very nice connection. So we should probably, because this is inevitably what I spend so much of my time thinking about, talk about the mechanical impact of this card. And the first time each turn you gain credits, you may draw a card, and there's through an ability on agenda or operation. The immediate comparison is building a better world. Whenever you play a transaction operation, gain a 1. This is a whenever, building a better world is a whenever. The Zwicky is first time each turn, so I'm kind of curious how you two feel about that, what the trade-offs are there.
Oh, they're totally different. I think so Wayland has lots of money, and that's fine. Having slightly more absurd amounts of money hasn't really been enough for years now. Like, we haven't really seen Building a Better World see much play in a long time. You need, like, what Wayland needs is some, like, card selection or card flow, and we did get that from Nuvum, but this is a different approach to that, and it's just like, yeah, draw your combo pieces, go fast. Play econ agendas, which is also a very classically Wayland thing, is econ agendas.
Yeah, rip my favorite agenda of all time, Oaktown. I feel like Zwicky would love Oaktown, but maybe not.
Pour one out.
Pour one out for a true king.
All the system update Wayland agendas are absolute classics that I will be very sad to see go.
Oh yeah, this would give us a little hint of outfit when we scored a hostile takeover, but a very different payout, I guess. I think the comparison to Nuvem is actually a good shout out, and I'm kind of, it's like Nuvem doesn't quite draw a card, though it does sort of either a filtering or not, I guess. And I think it's a very interesting comparison of like gaining 2 credits and drawing a card. And I feel like those are like, I don't know, I don't feel like either of these obsoletes the other, and they kind of look like they're going to support different decks, but in kind of similar power levels. But I'll be interested to see how that ends up shaking out. But
yeah, it sort of feels like Nuvem is going to be the one, if you have a plan that really wants you to have a ton of money. Nuvem probably becomes the go-to ID there. Whereas Zwicky is a bit more flexible. Like, card draw is good for basically any strategy you could ever play. In most card games, but also in Netrunner. So, and it comes through playing cards that you have to play anyway, right? The cards that give you money. So like, Zwicky's going to be like just a very flexible default position. I think if you want to play Wayland and you don't want to play the delightful mini faction that is Orb, then Zwicky is a good starting point for like. I think this deck, like, I have an idea for a deck. It doesn't specifically require a particular ID. I'll just whack it in Zwicky and like give me myself a bit more pace and consistency. I think that's like a good place for it. Yeah, it's nice to see Wayland card draw. We don't get that very often.
Yeah.
You certainly don't put like your regular, not specifically tied to the ID deck in Earth Station or Op. And you could in Nuvem, but it's a 50 card ID, so you maybe a little less than usual. I think Zwicky is a great default.
Yeah, it does feel like a good new default, and like, as I think about this, it's like a thing where like, oh, a new player will have this and Built to Last as their like options out of the box.
Yeah.
And so, it's
right,
like,
and Built to Last is not especially a default kind of ID either. It's like you can make a lot of things work because there's enough advanceable stuff, but it wants you to play with it a little bit more.
Yeah, and I was about to say also, like, as a any player playing card games, especially if you're new, like, drawing cards, I feel like is always the most fun thing to do, because there's a little bit of like, oh, what can I do now, which is pretty nice. Chat's trying to figure out some good agenda synergies, and pour one out that we're not going to see this and sales team in the deck together. you know, that would be a
Yeah,
fun
that
one
is
Oh.
too.
Yeah.
that is a throwback deck that I will be looking to build at some point in the
That's
legality of
that's
Zwicky Group.
10 card draws.
It sure is.
Yeah. But I think the other ones in standard are stuff like Off-World Office will trigger this. Uh, Divested Trust, I believe, fires
Yep,
credits.
Correct. Yep.
Is there?
Famously playable agenda divested trust.
I have. Well, maybe this speaks to the local meta. I have had to play against more Divested Trust than I would have expected.
Okay.
So, weren't people talking about divested trusts like in yesterday's stream in context of IP enforcement? Like you make them steal a
An
SDS like
SDS.
3 times.
Yeah, you're right. I think I will say that was not again famous prison builder, so makes some sense. But
Crap, I'm gonna have to play against that at some point.
yeah, I know we're both gonna have to play against that, and that'll be another thing. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, if you want to play divested trust, you want to play it even if it doesn't have you draw a card. It's like that's kind of you kind of need that card to be working very centrally in your game plan for it to be good in your deck, and hacking on a card draw doesn't like make it inherently good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think for me this is building a better world, but for cards instead of credits, right? Just you play hedge fund, you draw a card. You play
Yeah.
Gov Sub, you draw a card. Whatever other ones we might get in this set, or even like KPI, it's very nice with.
Yeah.
Or you can go out of faction to like juice up your red levels or your mindscapings or what have you. And it does that. And then also sometimes randomly you get a card draw when you score off World Office. Sick. Like,
Yeah.
That's fine. The agenda bit is like very secondary in my opinion.
Yeah.
But
This
it
is
doesn't make the card bad.
Yeah, turning on like now we have an extra another piece in that debate of like how much is the card cost of drawing a sure gamble. Well, in Zwicky it's cantripping itself with your hedge funds, so like that seems pretty solid.
You also get to profoundly frustrate your lat opponents on turn one, where you go ice hedge fund, and then they play their turn and look up and realize you don't have 3 cards, you have 4.
Oh yeah.
And 4 is an annoying number to get to as lat on turn 1.
Yeah.
And I don't have Chameleon anymore. Not that I would ever play a Chameleon on turn 1. But I have been Chameleon Lat has been my like last hurrah before rotation main runner, and I've been having a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, that deck is sweet.
Polly's Cafe. It
Damn
does
right.
stuff. What a concept.
Yeah. Well, I guess
Shout out to Lost Geek.
Shout out to Lost Geek indeed. So I guess I might ask, of the cards spoiled so far, which ones are you most excited about? Maybe we'll start with you, CobraBubbles, I guess.
Yeah, that's a fairly easy measured response for me. Card is really fun. I do realize that my perspective on the cards is a funny one because I come to them later than most people in NSG, because our work in the community team is kind of the last thing that happens before a set release, right? It's this stuff right now. It's previous season. But I also come to them before everyone else, obviously. And my excitement in a card is basically determined by 2 things. It's how sick does it look in my first pass on the card file, and did someone write a wicked article about it? And measured response ticks both boxes. Safer's article was really excellent, really fun to edit and to work on, and a really good read. And yeah, on first read of this card, it's high impact, and of course, it has excellent fallback flavor text that I enjoy. So yeah, measured response would be my answer. I think. Looking forward to killing some runners with that.
Nice. Jamie, how about you?
I think it might also be measured response.
Turns out it's a very neat card.
I have never really gotten like public trail to work, but just cut out the middleman, and I'm I want to play Rushy Forks Wayland again. It's been a while.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
I've been
It
on
definitely
like
has been.
weird combo Waylands for so long.
All right. Yeah, so I've bet chat is asking to see the backside of Zwicky Group. It's tough because I'm like, oh, I don't feel like, this is probably why I shouldn't do all NSG streams, because we can't really speculate on anything in the card, because this is not, these are not pieces of art we've seen so far, but we've got some good.
I will say, people who've been paying very close attention might have seen one of these pieces of art somewhere.
Yeah,
that is what I'll say. But yeah, they're fun arts. They're also very different, which is a thing I kind of enjoy. Right, there's like some kind of corporate goons doing something to somebody on the top there, and then I've got no idea what that is underneath. I mean, I do sort of have an idea, but like, just as an image, it asks a lot of questions and doesn't really answer them. So adding more to the mystery of the Zwicky Group.
Yeah, it's a very fun, like right now as part of the spoiler season, it's also fun where it's like, wow, that is such a striking image, and we don't know really anything about it, which is, I think a very fun thing to have. But, all right, Jamie, because you're on for rules, we while I think we have a proper rules update. Is that on this calendar? I feel like there was something.
Yep. Monday.
Monday.
Is
okay.
The rules article.
Fantastic.
Means I gotta write the thing. The rules team has been working hard on the set for a while. First we had to write the card text and the text for all the inserts that are in the box, and now we're working on the CR update and some updates to past cards and all that stuff I'll talk about in the article. But I wanted to show off a little bit what is up with all the I think it's been mentioned on other streams that there are a bunch of rules reference cards in the set, and what is that about? And unfortunately, there was not a single one of these that
didn't have to be
does
heavily
not have
redacted.
Some kind of reveal on it. So shout out to Ams, who was able to censor a couple of them for us.
Yeah, and these.
But yeah, this is.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
These aren't new rules. There are, I don't think, any rule changes on the cards that you've sent me. I do think it is fun to have a little bit of extra spoiler text. But I also these are actually I think Netrunner has a hard issue. It can be difficult to onboard new rules in Netrunner because it feels like there's so many. But I do actually find these cards are doing a pretty nice job of both being concise but still being accurate.
We worked really hard on them. I started out with a list of every new piece of vocabulary and concept that appears in Elevation but not in System Gateway, and it was 50 something entries on that initial list.
Oh, wow.
And some of them are very straightforward things that we did not need to actually explain.
Mm-hmm.
But quite a few of them are worth putting some clarification, whether it's just that there's a Trojan in the set, as you can see from the redacted entry about Trojans. And since we have a card all about hosting, it's worth mentioning that that's one of the few things that does come up in System Gateway. But
I like the reiteration of it. And we've got another one. Recurring credits are coming back.
Speaking of reiteration,
which we all know, but it's funny. It's recurring credits. I'm always like, oh, there's such a simple mechanic, but then you think about how to actually explain. You're like, oh wait, yeah, this does take multiple sentences to explain.
Yeah.
So
So in system updates and whichever set Chesva is in, we just barely managed to fit like the reminder text for recurring credits on 2 lines. And we had to like break one of our style conventions, and refer to this card instead of the type of the card. And we were able to do a little bit better layout finagling this time around. So you can see Makoto Longgit Grid says this upgrade in the reminder text. So we got just that little more. And mainly that's because the text is smaller because there's a lot of it. So it's not like the max font size.
yeah,
But
Nice.
very cool.
Little wins. You take them.
Yeah. No, it's this is a little bit patting ourselves on our own back here, but I kind of do, I think it's been nice to see the sets continually get better and better, and I think that Elevation, continues that theme, and I also like that, of the cards we've seen, and Zwicky is a pretty good example of this. Like, it's a pretty straightforward effect, and Ryu is a little bit more complicated. So hopefully we have more Zwickys than Ryus in terms of complexities. But I think that this is it's neat to both see hey, we can make simple effects, or simple effects can still be printed, and you can still we're not just doing buildings or logos anymore. Which is a nice bit of change. So. All right. Well, 2 cards. I don't feel like we need to stretch out a whole hour with just 2 cards. So, any final thoughts from either of you that you want to get out before we kind of close up the stream?
I want to answer the question in chat. It is correct that there is no paid-ability window between refilling recurring credits and start of turn abilities. So you've got a paid-ability window before recurring credits refill, and then you don't have another one until after turn begins.
Oh yeah, and that's actually pretty relevant if you're trying to res an asset that you use the I forgot how
credits.
Yes, to get credits. So, you have to you only get one, or you have to wait a turn to save some even more money, I guess. Safer. I was also thinking wait, what card does copy relate to? But I think I know what it relates to. So we'll see. And CobraBubbles, any other final thoughts?
Just to say once again, welcome to preview season. It's exciting to be here at last. Although we had quite a long and exciting preseason this time around.
Yeah.
Please read articles. I know people like to skip to the previews, but there's a lot of really fun content. I've been really pleased. I think we've had people from across NSG, as you can see on this graphic, people from a bunch of teams all across NSG. Between now and next Tuesday, we're going to be publishing their work, and that's going to be that's really fun for me. I love to read good writing about Netrunner, and we have a lot of that to share with you over the next week, which I'm really pleased with. And also we have a few other things in the communities, the community previews that didn't quite get finalized in time to make it onto that graphic. So the schedule article will probably be updated within the next few days. So keep an eye on that. And I look forward to community previews and enjoy the articles.
Yeah. The I don't look at all the articles ahead of time, but they're always a lot of fun to go and read, and so it's I'm looking forward to. We've got a lot scheduled this year too, which is great. I'd like the peek behind the design process that we get, because I think they can have a lot of information that's quite good in that. Well, I think with that said, I'm going to wrap up the stream there. I think Jai asked comment whether we'll see the old IDs in new frames. Not my department. I've heard there's people interested in doing it, but absolutely no promises about if or when it will happen. Though maybe OP is actually not a bad way to do it, where they could be prizes for a bit. So it's something we'll have to talk about as an order to figure out
I think
what
that's the
right to is.
implication of addressing the question to you.
Yeah, I think that makes it's definitely something to think. We haven't had conversations about that being a distribution channel, but that's actually a pretty interesting idea. So we'll have to think about that. Well, thank you, CobraBubbles and Jamie. It's been a lot of fun to chat with both of you. I'm looking forward to seeing all of the hard work you two have both put into this preview season and the set, and yeah, I'm looking forward to the rest of spoiler season as well. So,
thanks for having us on.
Thank you. Later.